We seem to have a perfect storm of events here to cause some chaos and headaches for people out there, especially in the West. We're going to start off here with the fact that Nevada has just filed a lawsuit against the federal government over the Colorado River water cuts, which they've put out. There's a lot of talk about this. Arizona getting hit big time. You can see here, just lost 240 billion gallons of water in this. These big cuts that were mandated and put out that take effect January 1st, 2027. As of right now, this new 10-year plan would mean that Nevada would give up 50,000 acre feet. That's about 17% of its Colorado River allocation. California would have to give up some 10%, and Arizona 27%, respectively. So Arizona getting hammered. It's raising questions, and rightfully so, because what are people going to do when this runs dry? This is a setup, without a doubt. A mega drought, everything that's going down, they're not trying to help mitigate the damage at all. We know they can make it rain, and they're not. We know that they can bring in fresh water through desalination, and they're not. They're doing nothing to help it, so their lack of doing anything makes them look super guilty. And the mega drought fueling all of this, big time. Devastating wildfires. You have the one now that is near Reno. This has caused a lot of people to have to leave their homes. They're saying this is a massive human-caused wildfire. Northwest of Reno, Nevada, some 90,000 people forced to evacuate. They're saying right now it's a go now type of an event because the winds just keep pushing it. So the Hawk Fire is what they're dubbing this. Growing, and at this point, the fires keep springing up, and they're going to with dry conditions and no water anywhere. You can also see, add on top of this, again, fueling this, because it's a setup. 118 degree temperatures, this massive heat dome in this area. The sun and the heat spark these fires right back up in the daytime after they can get put out, and the wind, the sun, all of it working together here to just torch a lot of places. So thousands of people told to evacuate and get out. We've got these conditions set up here for really non-healthy atmosphere out there for the whole region out there in the West. Anywhere dealing with these kind of temperatures and with the fires and the smoke on top of it. It's bad. But I'm going to update and talk more about this in terms of this battle for the water, where this is all going, because this whole region is about to dry up and burn up, and they're doing it right now in slow motion. Again, I feel it's all set up. It's all set up, and they're not doing what they could be doing to help mitigate the damage, and that's damning when you think about it, because they have the means, and they're doing nothing to try to counter it.
The Hawk Fire in the northern foothills of Reno, Nevada exploded over the weekend. Thousands of residents were told to evacuate, and the blaze is still 0% contained. What started as a small fire on Saturday grew uncontrollably in the first 24 hours. With hotels in the area booked up, hundreds of people are staying at the convention center turned shelter. Today, the Washoe County Sheriff's Office lifted an evacuation order in one area, but warned residents to remain prepared to leave again if the situation worsens. Officials believe that fire was started by humans.
My God, the property's burning down. Bye-bye, boat. We didn't move that far enough. Oh, there's deer. Poor babies. Oh, no. Somewhat insane. We tried to ferry it, but the property. little silly deer. I can't believe this.
Cheaper prices for beef, but at what cost?
President Trump wants to bring in foreign meat to the U.S., but ranchers say it's a blow to their businesses already hanging by a thread.
News 4's Mecca Thompson joins us now with what farmers are saying today. Mecca?
Well, Heather, Kevin, farm-to-table beef takes a lot of work. It's something Oklahoma ranchers take pride in. But some say the government injecting the market with foreign beef at cheaper costs could do more harm than good.
It's drought, it's high input costs. It's those types of things that are squeezing us.
The nation's cow herd is the lowest it's been in years. In an attempt to get the market back on track, the president is taking matters into his own hands, announcing a deal to sell imported beef at 25% below current market prices for the next 90 days with no out-of-quota tariffs. Oklahoma gubernatorial candidate Gentner Drummond not on board.
I do think the majority of Oklahomans would agree that the tariffs are too far, that importing cheap beef only injures Oklahoma's cattlemen, ranchers, and farmers.
We had no indication this was coming, no heads up, none of that.
Michael Kelsey, vice president of the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association, believes market prices should be left to the consumer and the farmer, not the government.
Beef just doesn't come imported in and go directly to the retail store. It's got to be processed when it comes in and so forth. So there may be what we'd call middlemen in the process. And so that price may not necessarily be achieved at the retail. And yet the market will respond to that.
I love our president and I love most of his policies. This was a poorly conceived plan. It was the wrong choice.
Christina Ferris is the owner of CF2 Cattle Company and Cowgirl Beef in Caddo County. Even though American beef prices continue climbing, she believes shoppers are owed transparency.
Put mandatory country of origin labeling, say this is American beef. And so that way the consumer knows maybe that 25%, which is not a whole lot in the big picture, is worth spending.
And we did reach out to Mike Mazzei for his stance on the deal. We haven't heard back just yet, and the White House says the president will formally sign an executive order on the deal sometime within the next 2 weeks.
Every public school in America is now on notice that if they tell a child that they're trapped in the wrong body, they are committing child abuse. And as we remove the far-left extremism from the classroom, we're taking historic action to ensure that every child in America has access to a first-class education. The United States spends more money on education than any other country in the world by double, and our results should be better than they are. I would look at lists where we're rated out of the 40 top nations, we're rated number 38, 39, and number 40 with all the money we spent. But Linda has changed that so rapidly and so drastically, and frankly, it's shocking how fast it's gone under her leadership. 1 year ago, as part of the Great Big Beautiful Bill, we passed the Education Freedom Tax Credit, the largest ever expansion of school choice, and we want, thank you, and we want every parent to have the power to send their child to a high-quality school that shares their values. It's so important. With us today are Caleb and Jocelyn Griffith and their beautiful family from Statesville, North Carolina, great place. They've 3 biological sons and 2 foster children. School choice and education freedom scholarships are going to give these kids more opportunity than ever before.
Barely 4 weeks into his tenure as Prime Minister of Britain, Andy Burnham has caused a major heartburn in the Kremlin and gone much farther in supporting Kyiv than his predecessor, Keir Starmer. During his maiden visit to Kyiv on Ukraine's Independence Day, Burnham seemed undeterred by Russian allegations of hindering peace. He dismissed Russian threats as outrageous and extended his unequivocal support to Kyiv. Reports also indicate that the UK will share the blueprints of the Scalp missile with Ukraine, adding an entirely new dimension to the war.
Despite Russia's outrageous threats to my country, we will continue our support for Ukraine's defence. I know you need more help to protect your skies and your civilians. I know how hard the winters have been and the need to be ready this year when the nights draw in.
The Scalp is a joint French-UK production cruise missile with a range of 250 kilometers launched from an aircraft. The Scalp flies very low in order to avoid early radar detection, and it detonates its warheads closer to the target. It is considered an ideal weapon for penetrating hardened bunkers and ammunition stores like the ones used by Russia. Moscow, on its part, has already warned the United Kingdom of adding fuel to fire and far-reaching consequences. Days after recalling its envoy from Britain, the Kremlin declared its intention to target all such sites where these missiles will be produced.
Our armed forces are carrying out the necessary work, gathering the relevant intelligence to identify the production sites of such missiles and other military equipment, and taking measures to destroy these sites.
The war of words over missile blueprints assumes significance given the timeline of this war. Britain has been supplying Scalp missiles to Ukraine since 2023. It did not allow Ukraine to use these missiles to strike inside Russia till 2024. Once the Biden administration allowed its missiles to be used outside Ukraine's border, even United Kingdom allowed Kyiv to use Scalp for deep strikes inside Russia. However, till date, the United States and European nations had only shared weapons with Kyiv, not the tech behind it. The implications of this may not be limited to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. UK's military tech aid for Ukraine could result in Russia doing its own bit for Iran in the war against the United States, and that may have a significant bearing on the US-UK ties, which have been anything but stable under Trump.
We got some new threats here from Iran directed toward Barron Trump specifically. They're saying they're putting a $10 million reward up for grabs, and they're showing all their people in Iran via their state television that he can be found here or there, and give away certain other little details. And it's mostly an AI-generated clip that they're sharing. But the threat is real, in the open, out there, and it's just the latest. Now, they've been threatening Donald Trump for quite some time, and obviously we're in the middle of a war here with things heating up, but there's no end in sight to the war. Kind of a stalemate at the moment, but you see the Strait of Tears firing up, and things aren't really getting any better anytime soon. So the threat's still flying, but at this rate, I don't know what the next move will be. You know, when you start to target the children of the world leaders out here, they're kind of saying in return that, like, Trump is threatening their entire civilization, including their children, and that he's no better than any other child on the planet, and that he's fair game, is what they're saying. So the segment that they're displaying puts apparent locations and different platforms that he is associated with, and other information, trying to get people to lean and feed into this. But the latest threat here, nonetheless, in the back and forth, you've got the Strait of Tears getting attacked right now. There's no end in sight, really, to any of this stuff. And you've got infrastructure getting hit here in the United States. You've got water places. You've also got substations, just infrastructure across the West getting targeted. And that's where we sit here at the moment. But yeah, this threat, a pretty bold one here, squarely on Barron Trump's head.
ראש השב"כ, ובעצם ביקשתי ממנו.
נכון.
שידאג להבטחה הראויה שמגיעה למתמודד על ראשות הממשלה במסגרת החוק והמסגרת המקובלת והמותרת, אין שום בעיה עם זה, להפך, זה אחד. עכשיו, באשר לבנים שלי, פה אני חושב שיש כאן דבר שהוא בלתי יאומן. כן. איראן תרגתה את אחד מבניי. איראן ניסתה לרצוח, להרוג את אחד מבניי. ניסתה לרצוח.
זה מידע מודיעיני שהודח לכם על השולחן?
איראן ניסתה לרצוח את אחד מבניי.
אוקיי.
ולכן ההבטחה הזאת היא לא, זה לא מטרות. זה דבר שבלעדי זה פשוט נצליחו בזה. ואני חושב שכל אחד מבין את זה, ואנשים צריכים להתאפק גם במהלך מערכת בחירות.
And yes, while governments fight over satellites and communication, scientists are fighting a very different battle here. One involving viruses. And yes, the next story takes us to South America, because scientists are warning that diseases once considered very rare that may offer clue about the next pandemic. The next pandemic may not come from where we expected. That is one of the biggest lessons from the latest research into diseases that jump from animals to the humans. Ladies and gentlemen, scientists have long studied viruses such as Ebola and hantavirus. COVID-19, it also reminded the entire world how quickly a disease can move from an animal-human interaction to a global crisis. And now researchers are watching a very different set of diseases in South America. One example is Argentine hemorrhagic fever. The supplied report describes the case of 65-year-old woman. That woman is from Argentina, who developed severe symptoms and later on she died. Well, doctors discovered that she had contracted Argentine hemorrhagic fever, a rare disease associated with the rodents. You know, the worrying part is not just one case, it's a broader pattern here. The disease has reportedly resurfaced after decades and is appearing in areas where it had not previously been seen. In the meantime, scientists are increasingly concerned about zoonotic diseases. Basically, that means diseases that move between animals and humans. Just like COVID-19. And you know, the environment here, that matters. When humans expand into new habitats, when forests are destroyed, when animals lose their natural environment, when climate conditions change, the relationship between humans, animals, and these kind of environment, that changes too. According to report, climate change is one factor that can escalate the speed of certain diseases. That does not mean climate change automatically creates a pandemic, but it can alter where animals live, where mosquitoes thrive, where rodents spread, and where humans come into contact with the wildlife. And wait, that can change the geography of an entire disease. Well, this is why scientists, they keep warning the world not to focus only on the last pandemic. The next outbreak, it may not look like COVID. It may not begin in a major city. It may begin very quietly, one infection, then another, and by the end of the time, the whole disease, that can move very, very quickly. That is why surveillance here matters, early detection matter, and understanding the environment, that also matter. But yes, from viruses, we now move back to Washington. This time the story is not about Iran. It is about women dating the FBI director and a defamation lawsuit that has just suffered a major
You may laugh now at the irony. The conspirators were condemning conspiracy theorists, suggesting that COVID-19 does not have a natural origin. So it's conspiracy theory to suggest it doesn't have a natural origin. Now these people have been, at least one of them has been found guilty of conspiracy.
So the people trying to shame you for questioning them, they called you conspiracy theorists, are now pleading guilty to conspiracies. So ex-Fauci aide hid emails about bat experiments. So this guy, David Morin, 70 whatever, he faces up to 5 years in prison after pleading guilty to conspiracy to evade federal public records laws. So what they were doing was they were saying one thing publicly about masks, vaccines, the origin of the virus, all the things that you were kicked off social media for telling the truth about. And in private, they were saying another thing. And so when you're a government employee, when you communicate with other government people about government stuff, you're supposed to use government computers and government servers, which is susceptible to FOIA requests, meaning that someone can file a Freedom of Information Act request and receive all your communications, right? So that's called transparency in government. But what they were doing was they were doing it in secret. They were having in-person meetings. They were using non-government emails, stuff like that, which is illegal. And they knew it's illegal because here it is right. Here's Mike Benz tweets this out. Here's one of the emails. Dear Jeff, Vivek, Tony, and Rochelle. So Tony is Tony Fauci, and Rochelle Walensky was the head of the CDC. And this is from that guy who just got in trouble. He's saying, I'm sending this via text message to avoid any FOIA issues. On Friday, a Newsmax reporter asked. So that's illegal. You can't have communications about government business trying to evade a FOIA request. So that's illegal. And that's what he's pleading guilty to. And so the hope is that this guy he's gonna plead guilty and be given a lighter sentence, so he will then turn evidence against his senior people, like, I don't know, Rochelle, and Vivek would be Vivek Ramaswamy, a guy who I think is going to be the governor of Ohio, right?
It seemed like the Democrats were leading for a second, but
oh, really? Okay, well,
for
we'll
a second,
see.
I don't know.
I think 6 of one, half a dozen. They all work for the same people.
Yep.
I don't know who Jeff is. But anyway, so just to give you, on August 8th, 2021, Osterholm messaged Jeff Zients. Oh, that's who that is, Jeff Zients. Vivek Ramaswamy, Anthony Fauci, and Rochelle Walensky, stating his consistent view since April 2020 that cloth coverings provide little benefit. So that's what was in this text, right? That face masks don't work, basically what he's saying. And that N95s are needed for real protection. Now, N95s have to be professionally fitted, and you're not supposed to wear them longer than an hour or two. And so they've also proved in studies that even when you're wearing an N95, they don't work because no one wears them correctly. They're not properly fitted, and people smudge and all that stuff, and then they don't work. So they don't work in the real world. They might work in a lab, but they don't work in a real world. He criticized CDC studies supporting cloth masks and not holding up the scrutiny, and chose text to avoid FOIA issues and debates over school masking. They masked children knowing it didn't help. In fact, it hurt them. Now their language development is delayed.
Not to mention, while you're sitting in the classroom, the teacher is wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Teaching the kids. How do you develop language skills?
Right.
When the face has expressions. It's terrible for kids. It was a detriment to kids.
So a senior U.S. health official pled guilty, secretly just tried to restore funding for... hiding records showing he had secretly tried to restore funding for bat virus experiments during the pandemic. Dave Moren. So that's what he's pleading to. So I guess he's probably just going to plead to one thing. Maybe that's it. A former employee at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, an advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci, could face 5 years.
There's a correction about Vivek. It's Vivek Murthy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Vivek Murthy, a United States Public Health Service Commission.
Oh, so it's not Vivek. So
no.
Come back to me. So that is Vivek Murthy, not Vivek Ramaswamy. My apologies to Vivek Ramaswamy. In 2020, the U.S. National Institutes for the NIH terminated a grant called Understanding the Risk of Bat Coronavirus Emergence, which had funneled funding to the Wuhan Institute. Okay. COVID-19 emerged close to the Wuhan Institute Virology. That's right. Like right down the street. And U.S. intelligence feared that the virus may have leaked from the lab during the grant. So all along, they knew it most likely came from that lab. That's what they're saying. It was actually developed at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill by Ralph Baric, and then they shipped it to Wuhan, and that's where it leaked. Morens admitted that despite the termination, he had pledged to help scientists have the grant restored. while also helping them to counter the narrative that COVID-19 had leaked from the left. So the people in the government are actively lying to you and trying to get other people telling the truth censored, kicked off social media, and have their medical licenses taken away. That's what the government is doing, which is why all the people who shamed me and attacked me and people like me telling the truth and being skeptical are pieces of fucking garbage. Fearing that their communication, including people who used to work for the show, fearing that their communications would be requested through Freedom of Information requests, Morenz admitted to hiding the messages from public view by corresponding using these personal. So we saw that, and he was creating a back channel of information.